When asked if he believed in God, Albert Einstein didn't give the answer most people expected. Instead, he said, "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists." So, who was Baruch Spinoza? What made his philosophy so revolutionary? And how does his radical vision of God and nature continue to influence the way we think about freedom, happiness, and the pursuit of knowledge? Let's find out, and if you can do me a favor and subscribe and hit the thumbs up button, it would really mean a lot to me, and it would really help this channel. To understand why Spinoza's ideas were so groundbreaking, it's helpful to start with his life and the context that shaped him. Baruch Spinoza was born in 1632 in Amsterdam, in a Jewish community that had found refuge there after escaping persecution in Spain and Portugal. This community was shaped by strict religious traditions and a strong desire to protect their faith and culture, which Spinoza eventually found himself at odds with. From a young age, Spinoza was known for his sharp intellect and passion for learning. He received a rigorous education in the Hebrew Bible, Talmud, and Jewish philosophy, and quickly showed promise as a scholar. However, he was equally drawn to new scientific and philosophical ideas emerging across Europe. Ideas that questioned established beliefs. Thinkers like René Descartes and Galileo were transforming the way people understood the universe, and Spinoza was captivated by their emphasis on reason, inquiry, and observation. This engagement with new ideas led Spinoza to develop his own views that would ultimately put him in conflict with his community. In 1656, at the age of just 23, Spinoza was excommunicated from the Amsterdam Jewish congregation. His beliefs were deemed heretical, a serious charge that effectively severed him from his family, friends, and cultural heritage. Though the exact reasons for his excommunication were not recorded, scholars believe it was due to his controversial ideas about God, religious authority, and the nature of reality. Views he would later develop into his full philosophical system. This break from his community had a profound impact on Spinoza's life. While he lost his formal religious ties, he gained intellectual freedom. Living modestly, often as a lens grinder, he devoted his life to philosophy and writing, becoming known among a small circle of intellectuals as an independent and deeply original thinker. Spinoza's personal experiences with religious and intellectual exclusion helped shape his advocacy for freedom of thought and tolerance. He saw firsthand the limitations of dogma and the power of open inquiry. In fact, one of Spinoza's earliest works, the theological political treatise, is a defense of intellectual freedom, arguing that true understanding cannot be reached through rigid religious doctrines, but through rational inquiry. The challenges Spinoza faced in his life, his excommunication, his modest lifestyle, and his commitment to intellectual freedom, all contributed to his radical perspective on God and nature. Through these experiences, he developed a vision of reality that was, in many ways, far ahead of his time. At the heart of Spinoza's philosophy lies a radical idea. God and nature are one and the same. Unlike the traditional religious view of a personal God who exists outside of and above the world, Spinoza believed that everything is interconnected as part of a single, divine substance. This idea is captured in his famous phrase, Deus sive natura, meaning God or nature. For Spinoza, these terms are interchangeable, and understanding this oneness is key to understanding his entire philosophy. Spinoza argued that God is not a separate creator who actively intervenes in the universe. Instead, God is the universe, the very fabric of existence. According to Spinoza, everything that exists, from the smallest particle to the vastness of the cosmos, is a part of this one substance, governed by natural laws. This idea, known as pantheism, was revolutionary because it rejected the view of God as an all-powerful, personal deity with human-like qualities. Instead, Spinoza's God is impersonal, without desires, intentions, or emotions, manifesting purely through the laws of nature. In his major work, Ethics, Spinoza meticulously explains this idea using geometric proofs, aiming for a logical and rigorous understanding of existence. He presents God as the only substance, an infinite self-sustaining being that encompasses everything. From this one substance, he argues, flows everything else: thoughts, matter, emotions, and even our sense of individuality. According to Spinoza, individual beings like us are simply modes, or expressions of this substance, temporary forms within the eternal reality of God or nature. This worldview was, and still is, controversial. By equating God with nature, Spinoza undermined the traditional religious notion of a creator who judges, rewards, or punishes. For him, concepts like good and evil are human interpretations, not divine truths. Events in the natural world, from the rise and fall of empires to natural disasters, are expressions of natural laws, not the will of a moral deity. For Spinoza, everything that happens is a necessary part of the universe's structure, not the result of divine intervention. Spinoza's view also challenges us to think differently about human freedom. While we may feel that we act independently, Spinoza argued that everything in the universe, including human actions, follows a strict causal order. Just as planets move according to gravitational laws, we act according to causes that we might not fully understand. However, Spinoza did not see this as a limitation. Instead, he believed that freedom comes from understanding the necessity of nature's laws and accepting our place within this order. The more we align our lives with this rational understanding, the freer and more fulfilled we become. In essence, Spinoza's vision of God and nature offers a unifying, holistic way of looking at the world. Rather than seeing ourselves as separate from the universe, Spinoza invites us to view ourselves as integral parts of a vast, interconnected whole. For Spinoza, true wisdom and happiness come from embracing this interconnectedness, recognizing that everything we experience, our thoughts, emotions, and even challenges, is part of a larger rational order. Spinoza's philosophy wasn't just an abstract theory about God and nature, it was a guide for how to live. In his masterpiece, Ethics, Spinoza lays out a vision of life rooted in understanding and rationality, where true freedom is achieved through self-knowledge and alignment with nature. His approach to ethics isn't about following strict moral rules. Instead, it's about using reason to understand ourselves, our desires, and the world around us. For Spinoza, freedom is closely tied to knowledge. He argued that while we might feel free, our actions are often driven by emotions and external forces that we don't fully understand. Emotions like fear, anger, or jealousy tend to arise from misunderstandings about ourselves and the world. According to Spinoza, these emotions are a natural part of being human, but they can trap us in a kind of bondage, limiting our freedom. The way to overcome this, Spinoza believed, is through understanding, specifically understanding the causes behind our emotions and the natural laws that govern them. Spinoza viewed emotions as natural reactions that follow predictable patterns, much like any other part of the universe. By studying these patterns and the causes behind our reactions, we can learn to manage them, finding peace and stability instead of being controlled by every passing feeling. In his words, an emotion which is a passion ceases to be a passion as soon as we form a clear and distinct idea of it. Spinoza also believed that ethical living involves understanding our place within the larger order of nature. Since everything is interconnected, Spinoza saw virtue not as a set of isolated actions, but as a way of harmonizing with the natural world. He described virtue as living according to the guidance of reason, meaning that we should strive to act in ways that are consistent with our understanding of nature's laws. By doing so, we align our lives with the rational structure of the universe, which he saw as the highest form of happiness. One of Spinoza's key ethical ideas is the concept of conatus, or the innate drive in all things to persist and flourish. This drive, according to Spinoza, is the essence of every being, including humans. For Spinoza, living ethically means pursuing this inner drive, but in a way that harmonizes with reason and the broader natural order. This approach doesn't mean acting selfishly. Rather, it's about acting in ways that contribute to our growth and well-being while respecting our interconnectedness with others. Spinoza's ethical system thus provides a unique path to freedom and happiness, centered on self-understanding, rationality, and interconnectedness. By recognizing that we are part of a larger whole and that our emotions and actions are expressions of this unity, Spinoza believed we could achieve a kind of inner freedom that goes beyond the limits of everyday emotions. Spinoza's ideas didn't just challenge the beliefs of his own time, they helped shape the intellectual foundations of the modern world. Despite facing censorship and even condemnation during his life, Spinoza's work slowly found its way into the hands of thinkers who would carry his ideas forward, making him a crucial figure in the history of philosophy, science, and politics. One of the first places we see Spinoza's influence is in the Enlightenment, a movement dedicated to reason, science, and intellectual freedom. Thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and even Kant were deeply affected by Spinoza's approach to reason and ethics. His theological political treatise, which argued for the freedom of thought and expression, was groundbreaking. Spinoza believed that society thrives best when individuals are free to pursue knowledge and express their ideas, a notion that influenced later ideas about democracy and individual rights. In fact, Spinoza's views on political philosophy laid the groundwork for modern democratic thought. He saw the state's role as enabling individuals to live rational and free lives. For Spinoza, the best government was one that promoted the collective well-being of its citizens, where leaders governed by reason rather than by force or religious doctrine. This focus on the rational, ethical society provided an early foundation for secular democracy and constitutional government, ideals that were later expanded upon by thinkers like John Locke and Thomas Jefferson. In modern philosophy, Spinoza's ideas continue to inspire debates on freedom, identity, and consciousness. His view of emotions as natural reactions that can be understood and managed resonates with current fields like psychology and neuroscience, where understanding mental processes is key to improving well-being. His insights into the interconnectedness of all things also speak to today's ecological and ethical movements, where there is a growing recognition of our responsibilities to each other and to the planet. Moreover, Spinoza's concept of rational freedom, achieved not through external power but through understanding, has influenced existential and humanistic philosophies. By suggesting that true freedom comes from within, Spinoza foreshadowed ideas later developed by philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Viktor Frankl, who also emphasized personal responsibility and self-determination. Baruch Spinoza's philosophy offers insights that address modern struggles with fragmentation and conflict. In a divided world, his vision of unity and rationality provides a path to a more integrated, meaningful life. Spinoza believed that true freedom comes from understanding the natural laws within us and around us, not through control, but through acceptance and wisdom. This idea resembles emotional intelligence today, knowing our emotions and motivations to make choices aligned with our true nature. For Spinoza, Happiness isn't something external to pursue. It's an inner harmony we cultivate through self-knowledge and rational understanding. Finally, Spinoza's call for intellectual freedom and open inquiry remains as relevant as ever. In a time where information is abundant, but wisdom can feel scarce, Spinoza's emphasis on critical thinking and the freedom to explore ideas reminds us of the importance of intellectual independence. He argued that a society thrives best when individuals are free to think, question, and seek understanding, a principle that underpins many modern democratic ideals. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Spinoza's philosophy. If you found value in these ideas, please subscribe and stay tuned for more explorations into the lives and thoughts of history's most fascinating thinkers.